Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Jeff Mosher and Adam Kaplan. It's a new week. It's a new era for the Philadelphia Eagles as Nick Sirianni will probably be introduced as their new head coach sometime this week in a press conference. The Eagles actually finally announced it.
He will be.
Well, he should be.
No, he will be in the next 48 hours, Jeff. It's going to happen. Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought it might be a little later in the week, but hopefully
if you listen to, I would say by Wednesday, it'll happen.
Right.
But yeah, go ahead. I just want, it's definitely happening this week. It's just,
that's good.
Isn't it weird how they announced it? What, they announced it on Sunday?
Yeah, it's almost like a news dump, like right before the football games are about to start.
I don't know, man. This organization for the last 20 years, the trade, what was it McNabb trade on Father's Day or something? What was it?
Adam, I wish it was on Father's Day. It was on Easter Sunday.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Oh my God.
I literally just sat down at the table to eat with the fam, and then all of a sudden
hell broke loose. So were you with the Delaware News Journal, or were you with?
Yeah, I was with the News
Oh, you
Journal
were. Okay, got you.
2008. Yep.
So here's my story on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a contributor to Comcast Sportsnet, and they asked me to come in, and they weren't paying me for certain stuff. And it was before I went to ESPN. I was just like, all right, I'll do it. Here's the problem. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, I didn't, I haven't shaved in a couple weeks here, but I look presentable. I don't look terrible. Whatever.
You gotta say, man, we're growing YouTube stars now.
Right. I look like half a bum. Okay. So then I was like you were. I was not home. I was somewhere like taking the day off with my wife, and I really wanted to say no, but I'm like, I can't turn this down, this opportunity. And the problem is they had to shoot it at a certain time, and I didn't even have time to go home. The only thing that I had was I did have a change of clothes. I think we're staying somewhere overnight. But I hadn't shaven, and I was, back then I was probably 240 pounds. Now I'm about 215, and I just look so bad. And I really didn't want to do it. And they're like, "Oh, could you please do it? Could you please do it?" I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to do this." But so the reason why I bring this up is sometimes when you do these things for television or radio, or you got to write an article, if you're a reporter, you're on deadline. Sometimes it's not ideal. And the Eagles, over time, they were definitely strategic on what they would do with announcements. That's why, spinning this forward here, I'm very surprised that they would do this on a Sunday. I know that everyone knew this happened, but why don't they announce it Monday morning and say the press conference will be, at noon or tomorrow? I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird.
It's a great question. I'm not absolutely sure. There was a time I used to think, well, I know that they announced certain things to make sure they weren't overshadowed by other teams and things like that. But yeah, it's a great question because I assumed that the contract still had to be worked out. But even if it was, hold it out and announce it Monday morning, and you can steal the headlines. But whatever. Obviously this is going to be an edition that's very focused on the coaching staff, the comings, the goings, and the stayings. But I wanted to bring up one point with you, Adam, as we get started, because I've been thinking about this for the last 48 hours, and I don't know what to. I'm not, again, much like a lot of this hire, I'm not saying positive, I'm not saying negative. It's just something that stood out to me when the head coaching search started. We would talk about names like Mike Kafka, right? And talk about that Kansas City offense that Jeffrey adores, right? And then we talked about Lincoln Riley, another guy who is a genius in his own right, or just known as a passing game savant. And then it became Josh McDaniels and that New England innovative offense. And I think what I've been thinking about the fact that he did not scheme chase, perhaps, though, in his hire of Nick Sirianni, because it's not like the Colts do anything that they've been very good offensively when they had Luck and this past year with Rivers, but they don't do things Shanahan-ish or Andy Reid-ish or even like what you see in New England. They just line it up and play some good football, right? And so at the end of the day, we thought Jeffrey went in with a mindset. He certainly likes those guys, but he came out with somebody different than I think you and I anticipated. And I don't know what to make of that. I think that's actually pretty interesting. I would have not put my money on Jeffrey hiring a guy who doesn't come from a program known for something, whether it's a scheme like New England or Kansas City or what Oklahoma does in college football.
Yeah, that's a really good way to say it. I had a couple people tell me, if you look at the offenses that Sirianni coached in, the Chargers and Colts, they weren't anything special. Yeah. Justin Herbert had a great season as a rookie quarterback. We'll talk about Shane Steichen. The Chargers for years, obviously under Phillip Rivers, they were very, very good offensively. And then when Sirianni was there with Reich, Reich unfortunately got fired as the Chargers OC, if you recall.
That's right.
Nothing special there. And then they've been solid. Frank's done a good job. Not great, not even close to great, but good, solid job offensively. They don't do anything special. We're going to get into some of the things we've learned since our Friday show. We gave some really good intel on things that are going to happen. That actually, when we dropped that Friday morning, we had the list from our sources on who Sirianni's targeting already. The big fish, one of the big fish on offense is coming in here. We'll talk about that. And defensively, I at the time we taped that, I knew that Gannon was his top choice for defense coordinator. But the problem is I didn't know that it was going to happen because I had heard the Bears wanted him. And then the Bears on Saturday they promoted their DBs coach. So that changed it. But then we'll talk about that. But overall, I think you make a fair point. I think it's very worth looking at. And we'll probably, when we have time in our off-season shows, we'll examine play calling tendencies, though I have a decent idea, but we'll have it actually nailed down by statistics. And we'll have more intel on some of the people who've worked with Nick, because that's really where you find out who these people are. And I've done some of that already. I was lucky enough to talk to two coaches who've worked with Nick in two different places. And I'm starting to get a framework of who he is as a coach. So we'll go forward with that.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from both Jeffrey and Nick himself about the interview, because it's not a guy I've known from this great innovative scheme. I'm very curious as to hear from Jeffrey what it is that Nick Sirianni said that really blew him away in the interview, and I'm curious to hear from Nick Sirianni on just his overall philosophy. So I look forward to these press conferences that'll hopefully be coming up in the next few days. All right, so we have a lot to talk about from the coaching staff. We got some guys coming in, as you already mentioned. We got some guys on the way out. We got some guys who are staying, so that's good. We'll get into it all. First, we'll tell people, as we always do, check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their great coverage of all of the Philadelphia sports teams like nobody else. They are for the fan, by the fan, so make sure you're checking them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation. We'll pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right. We will get into the coaching staff, but first, Adam, a little more on Sky Motor Cars.
Yeah. So see, this is their mug, Sky Motor Cars here. You don't know this, Jeff, but this just came out of the blue. So on Saturday, I was in their shop and all of a sudden they wanted me to shoot a commercial for them. So I shot a commercial for our show. Nice. And folks, please be nice about it when you see it.
Wait, is this going to be on TV?
Well, no, it's going to be on our show. It's shot for our show.
For our show.
But here's the thing. It's very reminiscent of the one that Carson Wentz shot. And please laugh with me, not at me.
I'm going to ask that our viewers and listeners actually do laugh at you and not with you. Oh man,
come on! But it's really funny. You and I, we've done reads before. Live reads, doing radio or on this show here on this podcast, or whether doing ITV TV. But I don't remember in my career if I've ever done a commercial. I've done live reads on Sirius, and you and I do this show together. We've had to do reads and so forth, but. I've done a little acting, but this is kind of funny because I didn't know I kind of knew like I might be doing something when I got there. I wanted to visit their shop, but I didn't know what I was, I didn't know I was getting into that. It was actually kind of cool because, man, I got to drive this, although it's just around the block there on their premises. Mm-hmm. This 2020 Mercedes-Benz station wagon is unbelievable. $110,000 car. Nice. Oh my God, it's so cool. It's just so cool. Wait till you see this. You're going to laugh, man.
I can't wait.
I know. I know you of all people are going to laugh at me, but anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
I will try hard.
It'll be fun. You guys will enjoy it. So anyway, that's that.
Awesome. All right. Back to the Eagles, as we like to say. Coaches who are coming in. All right. You mentioned John Gannon. He is going to be
But you want to start with the guys who are leaving out? There's actually some other news here before we get into the coaching staff.
I was kind of trying to weigh which was the bigger news, the guys leaving or the guys coming. So
it's up to you.
Do you think the guys leaving? I mean, Deuce is huge. I do want to make it.
Yeah, let's start with. Yeah, I think we should start off with the coaching staff news of the current guys because a couple things happen.
All right.
Well, yeah. So, okay, Deuce Staley's out. Our good buddy John Clark reported it on Sunday that Deuce wants out. You've covered Deuce. You know him like very few reporters in this market, in the Philadelphia market. Give us an idea of reporting on his career and just kind of guy is and what you might think his mindset would be after this happened with 2 coaching interviews and not getting the head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean, I said it in the last podcast, Adam, that it's pretty clear after you've promoted him to as high as assistant head coach, but then passed on him twice for head coach, that he reached his ceiling here. Not his ceiling, but his ceiling with the Eagles. He's not going to be the head coach anytime soon. And we knew that last time around, he was hoping to get to be the Eagles head coach. It didn't happen. They hired Doug Peterson, right? I think, there's a report he turned down. I think it was from Domowitz, right? That he turned down the OC job, which is interesting because I had not heard that.
I saw it. I mean, I love Damo, but
yeah, I had just not heard that.
When, by the way, do we know when that was?
I think he said in 2018 when Groh left.
Okay.
And then they promoted Press Taylor. But,
okay.
I know Deuce has wanted more.
Wow.
I know Deuce wants to be a head coach. I know people around me, and I'm not breaking news here because, obviously he's got a lot of support.
Yeah.
On people tell me all the time that they believe he will be a good head coach.
Yep.
I know that Deuce, and if I can't remember who left, it might have been when Steve Adazio left Temple, and then they wound up hiring, was it Matt Rule or was there somebody in between?
Yes.
Adazio and
I think
Rule.
it was Adazio. Yeah, I think Adazio and Matt Rule, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, I remember talking to Deuce about the Temple opening, and that would have been, and he said that would be something he'd be interested in if he were called. He wants to be a head coach. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
So his options now, if he wants out, it sounds like he wants out. Can understand that.
Yep.
Are pretty. I don't know that they're limited, Adam. I know that there's some talk about Chicago. I know he's got a relationship with Matt Nagy, but you can't look at the Chicago situation as being very good. Those guys are all on thin ice. I mean, they were lucky to come back. Nobody wants to take a job and they get fired in a year, right? Yeah. like a lot of Eagles coaches last year did with the Eagles this year. But anyway, I think, and I was talking to somebody else around the league with this, and this person agrees. I think his best bet may try to get a college head coaching job.
I agree with you. I
can't see him becoming the Tennessee head coach.
It's a little late. I mean, it's too late. Yeah, it's kind of too late. But yeah, that's just in the future. You make a great point. I had one of the Eagles coaches over the last couple of years tell me that thought what Deuce would be a great head coach because he's the command and the buy-in from the players. Look, he saw it on Twitter. We talked about this last week. Players absolutely adore the guy. Very well respected by the organization. Just using a little empathy here. I put myself in his shoes. Look, first time you're passed over, you go, okay, I get it. I'll learn from the situation. But the second time, and just the way it went down, it's like, okay, you weren't totally satisfied with Josh McDaniels, so you brought Nick Sirianni in. Then Sirianni got the job. One could read into it. How serious as a candidate was he?
Right. No, it's a great question. I'm a little surprised.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that South Carolina, where Deuce played and went to school, did not make, because I think that they just hired a head coach a little while, Frank Beamer's kid, right? Shane Beamer.
Okay.
Or something like that. I think this will be his first year. I don't know if they talked to Deuce or not, but I thought that would be a perfect scenario for him, especially as a recruiter. But we'll see what happens to him. Let's focus on Kansas City, right? Because they could lose Eric Bieniemy.
Oh no! Oh, that would be oh my God!
They already have a running backs coach, so I don't know that Andy's gonna not.
No, but what they can do, right? What they can do is if Bieniemy gets the Texans job, because that's the last one that's open. See, the problem there is how long is Nick Caserio willing to wait? The GM of the Texans.
Well, Jesus, he's waited this long. I mean,
how about Josh McCown? By the way, how about Josh McCown? I love Josh, great guy. Love talking to him when I get a chance, but how about him getting a head coaching interview? That did not go over all around the league. I can tell you that.
Well, I mean, listen, I love Josh too, and I get the whole idea. You want to be early instead of late, but I mean, there are a lot of great coaching candidates that have actually put in their time as coaches. I do think that it's a little bit questionable.
I don't blame him. I don't have any problem.
No.
It's the process the Texans that have, which has been an absolute joke.
Right.
So, hey,
what the Chiefs can do, Adam, remember, they already have Dave Tobe as their, he's not only just their special teams coordinator, but he is their assistant head coach.
Okay.
So if they've got the money to be able to do it, to bring in Deuce, call him, say, senior offensive assistant, and, add another title. But that's another thing, though. Deuce going there is not going to increase his title laterally because they already have an assistant head coach. And Deuce makes some pretty good money as the assistant head coach for the Eagles. So that also complicates. He may have to take less money somewhere.
Well, right. But here's the thing, though. Wouldn't you love to be with a team that has a chance to win the Super Bowl every year? Like Kansas City's there right now. They're in the Super Bowl again against the Bucks, which is going to be awesome, by the way. I just can't wait. But if I'm Deuce and I want it out and I'm looking around, it's not even about money at this point. I just want to go somewhere where I'm wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Andy drafted him, or actually Andy didn't, but Andy inherited him as a running back.
Right.
But he obviously
did bring him in as a coach.
I'm sorry?
Andy did bring him in as a coach, though.
Right, exactly. So he knows him. So anyway, that's that. Well, look, it's a shame that it's going to be this way, but it is what it is. And I cannot blame him at all for wanting out.
Nope, couldn't blame him at all. So we will see eventually where he winds up going. I guess if we're going to continue with the theme of guys who are leaving, Justin Peele, it sounds like he's joining Arthur Smith's staff in Atlanta, right? It's done? Yeah. That's kind of a significant loss. I mean, this has been a pretty good coach for them.
Yeah, look, the production, you can't argue with. It's been terrific. Justin, I remember when he got the job with Chip Kelly's staff, it might have been assistant tight ends coach or tight ends coach. I don't remember now because this has been, several years. But I remember running into him somewhere and he goes, yeah, this is what I always wanted to do, is be a coach. And I did a good job. The production has just been terrific, obviously, with Zach Ertz and now Dallas Goedert, Richard Rodgers, and, whoever they had here.
Yeah,
he's out. And then, but the big one, we kind of talked about Jeff Stoutland last week, that there was a chance he'd come back. Things had changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he had to take some care of some things, off the field. Nothing serious, just some things that, typical things that you do in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
But some, it kept him around a little bit. But look, he's coming back. A couple coaching sources told me that this is happening. I don't know. Here's what I do know. As soon as Bill O'Brien got that OC job at Alabama, I could have bet you I would have put up $50 to win 25.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To that Doug Marone's coming as the O-line coach if there was an opening. They are best friends. They're thick as thieves. They're good, close friends. And Marone didn't even hide it when he was asked about O'Brien, I guess, after he got fired by the Texans. I think he was asked about it a couple months ago, but kind of knew that would happen. And well, here's the other thing. The only thing I wondered, I was like, well, I wonder if Dowdy's not going to Alabama, was there another team that he's connected to other than Alabama? Was there another coach? And I couldn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard from a couple coaches around the league that, he's going back to Philly. Hey, he's got a house here. He's done an unbelievable job. This is a hell of a get by him. I'm not saying Sirianni had anything to do with it, but this is just a heck of a get for him to stay here, because boys, he's done a great job.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And so it's good because when you have a head coach, Adam, who has, only been a coordinator for a little bit and is not a veteran, you want to surround him with a nice veteran coaching staff, or at least have a few veterans on your coaching staff. So it is good to have Jeff Stoutland back, and he will continue to develop this offensive line.
Yeah, and just what you said, building that offensive line, it's the job that he's done with the younger guys. Seumalo, okay, who's turned out to be a solid, not a Pro Bowler, obviously, but a step below Pro Bowler. Great development that he's made. And the big one is Mailata, who's, I mean, if I'm Jeff Stoutland, this is good. I pushed for. I was the one who went over to the, to his whatever workout. He had this private workout for teams. He was the one that pushed Howie Roseman. Roseman sent him there to go to that workout. And he was the one, and he's going to see this through, man. This will be his crowning achievement if Mailata becomes a long-term starter. It's just one of those things you just couldn't predict. I mean, this rugby player who never put a helmet on 3 years ago before the Eagles drafted him. I mean, it's just remarkable. And credit to him to see this through. That's kind of where that's at.
Yeah, no doubt about it. While we're also talking in-house guys, Adam, as of Sunday night, I had heard that there were still some guys on staff who did not know their fates. And
Yes, correct.
listen, it's tough because you're bringing in a new regime and a new coach, and he's got a lot of people and decisions to make, but guys also need to know what their futures are going to be. And when they don't, they feel like it's something better can be done to help them out, because guys want to know what their future is going to be. Of course, anybody, human nature. So,
Yes.
I think that the Eagles need to kind of start making it. Sirianni's got to start meeting with his staff soon. Like, there are some coaches who have not yet, as of Sunday night, who have not yet talked to him, who are on the staff, and they want to know. So you got to kind of speed this process up a little bit, because it's not very professional to do that. So we'll see what happens. So we've got, let's see, offensive line coach here, but they need a tight ends coach. We have no idea what's going on with wide receivers coach. We have no idea what's going on with some of the defensive coaches, right?
Yeah. So let's start on offense based on my reporting from last Friday. So let's go with Shane Steichen. I noted that that's his target for offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Barring a surprise. I know Curtis Modkins interviewed the Broncos running backs coach on Sunday. He interviewed he structured. See, what he did was he structured the interviews per day, per position, or per role. But, on what you just said about some of the, I don't, maybe he's doing this. I don't know how he's doing position coaches. I don't know if he's going to interview the current position coaches for the Eagles and also interview outside guys. I don't know. I just know the way I was told Friday, he was interviewing OC candidates on Sunday, defensive coordinator candidates on Saturday. That was Chris Harris, the Washington defensive backs coach. You might remember him as a player for the Panthers and Bears. Really smart guy, big hitter. I remember Chris Harris, man. That guy.
Yeah, I remember him.
And then Jonathan Gannon was on when we did the show Friday morning. I knew that was probably his top choice. But Gannon, as I heard, was not a definite. He had other choices, but this is a major get, and we'll get to him in a second, in a couple of minutes. But let's get back to offense. Steichen did a good job under very difficult circumstances. Remember when Ken was fired of the Chargers head coach, he was the interim OC. He got promoted to the permanent OC last year. They did a great job in terms of offensive structure to help out Justin Herbert, and Pep Hamilton did a great job as a quarterback's coach. I would say that if you really study the Charger offense, it started to struggle a little bit. I understand that Austin Eckler was out for a while, almost 2 months, with he had a couple injuries, but I think Anthony Lynn's sort of influence on the run game, I think they start getting a little bit conservative. Being conservative has nothing to do with pass run ratio, literally zero. It's about offensive structure. Then we get lost sometimes in numbers instead of watching the team and actually understanding offensive structure. The way it was explained to me was it started to get stale. It wasn't quite as good. And there was some people I really respect who analyzed that offense and said that it got a little stale for whatever reason. I can't tell you. I know that Keenan Allen got hurt late in the season, but and they had some offensive line injuries. Maybe that had something to do with it. But Anthony Lynn is a very conservative coach by nature, and that may have had something to do with it. I don't have the exact answer, but overall he did a solid job under very difficult circumstances. So as we speak here, as you're listening to this Monday morning, if you're listening to us when we drop it, 6 a.m. By the way, we drop it 6 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll have it. It'll be done within 24 hours. It's just a matter of, is Steichen going to get it or someone else going to get it? It would be an upset to me if Steichen doesn't get it.
Right. Okay. And again, Modkins is the other guy that Curtis Modkins. I feel like Curtis Modkins has been interviewed for OC jobs before, if I'm not mistaken.
Don't know, but he's been a long-term and one of the better running back coaches in the NFL. That's really his forte.
Definitely.
I don't know if he's ever called plays before. I'm not sure about that. But when you are going to come over here, Nick Sirianni, and you, for now, have Carson Wentz, this is something we'll discuss, and we'll have further reporting on where that's headed. I don't do percentages unless I'm involved in it, but I do think there's all probability Wentz is going to be their quarterback this season, but nothing's official. They haven't made any final decision. But as we first reported a couple weeks ago, a lot of the head coaching candidates were asked about Wentz and what their plan would be. But I will tell you, a couple of sources told me they were never told that he was definitely going to be the quarterback. That's kind of what I'd heard. So I still think, based on contract structure with Wentz, it's a problem. And are you really going to give up on this guy? And then obviously, Sirianni and Wentz have to develop a relationship here if they can. We'll see where that goes, but that's kind of what I know.
So along the same vein, it does appear that Sirianni is bringing in the passing game coordinator that you mentioned from the Colts.
Yeah.
His name is Kevin Patullo, I believe
Correct.
is the name, correct?
Yep. Yeah, he
so
is. Yeah. He's worked with quarterbacks before the Jets. He was actually the receivers coach before Mike Groh got there. He was going to still be it, but Mike Groh is probably a top 5 receivers coach. And they drafted Paris Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
They had some younger guys who wanted to develop. So they moved Patullo to a passing game specialist, which is really the same thing as passing game coordinator. I'm told that the title is not settled, but it doesn't matter because it's the same thing. He's either going to be a passing game coordinator or passing game specialist.
So he's Press Taylor now.
But it's a really important thing because you got to be an expert. He's an RPO guy. This is really important here.
Carson's going to love that.
Disaster. Yeah, it was a disaster this past season. But in years past, they've been really damn good. So I don't know what happened. I need to get further information on what the hell happened. So many things happened this past season which were terrible, as we know.
Yeah. If
he's
an RPO guy, advantage Jalen Hurts, not Carson
Well,
Wentz.
yeah, but
you never know. I know.
No, but we don't know. We don't know where Carson's head is at. That's a former staff. That's irrelevant now. The only thing that matters now is if Wentz is the quarterback, how he gets along with the coaches. Does he accept coaching? If you're new to our show, we first reported a couple years ago that there was just some issues on how they were coaching Wentz, and he needed to be coached hard before anyone knew about this. In fact, our first ever show in 2018, we put that out there. That we were hearing that it's going to be it could be potentially a problem, and it sure as hell was for 2 years. But move this forward. Let's move on here with Patullo.
Well, with Patullo.
Yeah, so I do want to add this and why I put that on our show first on last Friday. Colt source told me he is going to be Sirianni's right-hand man. He is the guy that Sirianni, I don't know technically who was hired first of all the coaches he's bringing in. By the way, very few of these deals are done. So we're not only going to talk about stuff when we know it's done. I know that Patullo's done for a fact. And he is going to be, if he's not his right-hand man, he's second in command. There's just a guy that he wanted on his staff. He thinks the world of him, Colt source told me. And this is going to get done. But there was no way Patullo was not going to be on his staff. He wanted this guy, and it's a guy he thinks is very important to the offensive structure. Because when you are Frank Reich, okay, his first hire, there was no way he was taking that Colts job without Sirianni. He loves that guy. That's his little brother. And he thinks the world of him. He thinks he's special. Someone of the Colts told me. And Patullo's a guy that he thinks is really good. Sirianni does. So that's that on offense.
Well, the interesting thing is he's only coached quarterbacks specifically for 1 year. I think that was at Texas A&M.
Actually, 2. No.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, with the Jets.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
But he's coached for several years, only 2 years as quarterbacks coach. So I do wonder if he'll be the whatever title, if quarterbacks coach will be part of it, or if they're going to hire a quarterbacks coach. Because right now you would think they need a running backs coach, a quarterbacks coach, and we don't know the fate yet of Aaron Moorhead, who's the wide receivers coach. So we've got 2 names here, 2 good names, Patullo and Steichen, if Steichen winds up becoming the OC. But it seems like there are, and Stoutland, there are going to be more blanks to fill there on the offensive side. We'll talk about defense in a second. First, I want to remind everybody to download that top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use the code ITB to get all your sign-up bonuses. That's code ITB to get all of your sign-up bonuses only on DraftKings Sportsbook. So, Adam, we can talk about the defensive staff a little bit because, as you mentioned, let's talk about Gannon. He's going to come over.
One thing. By the way, do you know how old Shane Steichen is?
I didn't look at his age. No.
No, he looks like 50. He's only 35.
Oh, really?
Sorry, Shane. I don't know him. I've never met him before. But, I was doing some research last Thursday when someone told me that Steichen's probably going to come in here. And I know about him, but I asked a lot of people. I'm trying to learn more about him. And he's really a sharp guy. But the thing is, before we move to defense, if Wentz is the quarterback, I don't know how hard he coaches, man. I know people are getting super excited about it because Sirianni is more of an in-your-face type of quarterback. A coach like DiFilippo, But I don't know Steichen. I don't know how he coaches. I need to find out more about that. So I promise you guys, we're going to find more about Patullo. Can these guys coach hard? I can't answer that. I don't know yet.
Right. Right. Oh, by the way, we should bring this up too.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a real mischaracterization of what's gone on up top and with the team, because I've seen already reactions saying, hey, they're allowing this guy to actually hire his own coaches. See, he's not a puppet. And I think we have to go back and remember that when Doug Peterson got hired, he didn't really know a lot of people, but Doug got to bring some of it. Like, Doug got to promote Press Taylor. That was his guy. Doug did bring some of his guys in over time. It was then after the fact when things started to not go well, although I would say, I guess 2 years in, even first year with Greg Lewis. But the point is, I don't think the issue right now to focus on is whether or not Sirianni is allowed to hire his own guys. I think what you have to look for is if things don't go great after year one, after year two, does somebody step in and force other coaches on him? I don't think you and I expected that they were going to tell him all the coaches that he has to hire.
I need to correct something, though. I know where you're going this. It's completely false that Peterson was not allowed to hire his coaches in 2016. Here's what happened. He came in. He didn't have a great list.
Right.
They said, hey, it's his call. Jim Schwartz was not on his list. He was recommended by the Roseman or whoever. I think it was Roseman, the general manager, and he had his choice. He could go get who he could go get who he wanted. They had some guys. They said, hey, do you want to hire this guy? Because they were not going to interview Jim as for the head coach. I actually reported that in 2016. Despite the rumors, they were not hiring a defensive coach. It was going to be, if Schwartz wanted to coach here, it would be the DC, and Peterson said yes. We know that the owner is told that, in the past, those two coaches Peterson was told to fire 2 years ago. That's absolutely true. There's no doubt about it. That happened. We all know that. But to say like he was told who to hire in 16, I don't know where this comes from. These narratives are just not true. It's just not true. I mean, I talked to someone close to Peterson. It was just, they laughed. They go, where do you come up with this shit? I'm like, I'm just asking. I asked this. It's funny. I asked this 5 years ago because I heard the same thing. Because you want to shoot stuff down, and I've forgotten about it. Now you brought that up. Yeah. I know it doesn't really matter now, but you bring up a fair point.
But yeah, the whole thing about being a puppet is to be judged in a year or 2 or 3.
Exactly right. Now. Thank you for saying that. Because
obviously he was hired because he had to present to Jeffrey and Howie what his staff looked like, and they had to be impressed by that. So we'll get our answer later.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that. I just wanted to bring that up because I think there are media narratives which are just not true. There's a shred of truth to some of that. Not that Peterson couldn't hire his own staff, but if they thought the guy was bad, I'm sure they could have said, no, you're not doing that. They shouldn't do that. But any owner or general manager that has personnel control, Roseman has personnel control, he literally could say no if he wanted to. But I don't know of a case where he said no to any coach. I've never heard that before, that he ever got involved and say, no, you can't hire that guy. Some of these narratives, man, are out there. I'm like, where's this coming from?
Yep. All right. Johnny Gannon is going to be the defensive coordinator. Yeah. I guess he's the D-back. He was the D-backs coach for the Colts.
Yeah.
And he did, as you mentioned, have some interest. Like Brandon Staley apparently had looked into him, or there was some interest there. You mentioned the Bears may have wanted to talk to him, right?
Yeah, I heard that. But here's the deal. It's funny you mentioned Staley. A very good coaching source said to me, Jonathan Gannon is the defensive coordinator candidate like Brandon Staley was for head coach. He was the hottest young candidate to be a DC. This is me just moving this forward. If he does a good job here, he's going to be a head coach somewhere within the next 3 years. In fact, next 2 years. I'm telling you. I know it's a little bit of a forward thing because he's only been DB's coach for 3 years. I mean, this is really. If you thought Staley was on the fast track, this would be super on the fast track. But I got it from one guy who said to me, I'm just telling you, this guy is special. Philly's going to love him. This guy obviously is not from Philly. He's a coach somewhere else who knows him. Goes, this kid's got his stuff together. He's going to run a 43 front. He's got some Mike Zimmer stuff in him. Some Eberflus, cover 2.
Cover 2? Wait, cover 2? We're going to see some cover 2?
You might see some of that. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Eberflus. Yeah. So you could run you're obviously double A gap blitzes.
Yep.
Zimmer's backed away from some of that. He still does it.
Right.
So he's got a lot of influences here. So I'm loving this because here's the thing, folks. You're going to see more blitzing. I promise you.
Are you telling me cover 2 and blitzing? I didn't even think this could exist for the last.
Yeah, exactly right. No, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying his scheme is cover 2. I'm saying you might see some of that. I'm just talking. I talk to people who've coached with him or know him and know his work. He's got a lot of influences, and he'll pick what he wants. But I do believe he'll be way more aggressive than Schwartz. The knock on him, and the tape shows it, so you can't refute it because again, tape tells you the story. Schwartz ran a vanilla scheme. Yes, at the end of most seasons, the numbers come in top 10, a lot of important categories. But the lack of turnovers is disgraceful. I mean, it's not acceptable. It's the one thing that Schwartz could say whatever he wants. You can't do that. If you try for turnovers, it's too much risk. No, that's not what people around the league see when they watch his defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's technique teaching. It's being aggressive. I understand with a wide 9, we know Jim Washburn hated it, despised blitzing, hated it. Well, guess whose protege was? Jim Schwartz. So I get it. I'm a fan of Jim Schwartz, but the people I trust around the league are about 50 times smarter than me. They had a problem with his scheme. They just had a problem with it in philosophy.
Right.
But if you look at analytics, so the analytics are pretty good to the back of what Schwartz does. So the criticizers of Schwartz win, but the defenders also win. It's like a Spider-Man meme. Who wins? Practice to the supporters is kind of comical, but that's
right. Well, one thing I can add, Adam, on the Gannon thing is from someone I spoke to who's well informed. He said he echoed your sentiment that Gannon was kind of considered that rising assistant who should be a defensive coordinator as early as a couple of years ago. They felt that he was future defensive coordinator material. I think he's been with a lot of teams. As you mentioned, he was with Minnesota. Wasn't he with the Rams at one point as a scout?
I only know the one guy I spoke to told me he talked about the Vikings because this guy knows Gannon. He's either coached with him or is a friend of his. And anyway, he gave me the stuff. He said the thing is though, he said if you're hiring him to be a D coordinator, you think he's on the come, and you look at in terms of okay. This is the first time calling plays. He's only been a position coach for 3 years or whatever. I think it's 3 years. Anyway, you see his work with the Colts really good. And you go, you know what? We're going to take a little bit of a small risk here because he hasn't called plays before. Hey, look, you got to position coaches at some point. They're going to have to call plays if they want to go anywhere. And,
sure.
I would say this, I promise folks, Jeff and I are going to have, once the staff is done, we'll get intel on just about everyone. I'm not special teams. I'm not an expert on that, but the low level assistants, I don't know if we're going to have that stuff, but all the position coaches, we're going to have intel on all of them. I promise you.
Right.
Once they're done.
And the last thing I'll finish up with on Gannon is that the person told me that he was aware that Jeffrey Lurie knew who Gannon was and gave he wanted Gannon here. So
that's good.
And I'm now I'll just start connecting dots. If that was a guy that Sirianni talked about in the interview as someone he wanted to bring in as defensive coordinator, that probably helped his cause.
Boy, it's a great
Jeffrey
point, man. See, you always want to get high risers on your staff. You need to identify them. Yes, you need some veteran coaches, and we'll see. We mentioned this on the Friday show that I expected him to bring some veterans in. I know Steichen's not older, but he's a veteran coach. He's been with the Chargers 10 or 11 years. The thing about Steichen, I don't understand he did a solid job. I don't understand why Staley's not bringing him back. I'm not saying he's not coming back, but he's been allowed to interview elsewhere. I don't understand it. Maybe he did an analysis on the offense, didn't like it. I don't know.
Maybe some people just like to bring in their own guys.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a very good point. So let's go continue to focus on the defense. There's I don't know if you have confirmed it. There's a report that they are going to either talk to or interview the Auburn defensive line coach who has a great name, Tracy Rocker.
Oh yeah, it's funny. That was not confirmed. So I'm not gonna. I don't cover stuff that's just,
of course,
not confirmed. So unless I know it's definitely happening, because here's what happened to me a couple years ago. You're gonna love this story. This is and I'm sure this has happened to you. And in fact, I know it has, because you've covered the league for so long, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a coach years ago. He said, "Hey man, heads up, I'm going to this team." Well, not the Eagles. It was just another team.
Right.
It's a name that everyone would recognize. And so I reported it. I was at ESPN at the time, and it wound up not happening. And I don't get a lot wrong. And when I get it wrong, I beat myself up over it. And I called the guy. I said, "Dude, why didn't you tell me?" He goes, "Oh, they gave me more money. I stayed." I'm like, "Well, why the hell didn't you tell me that?" So this is what happens until the contract's signed. Look, it happens in every coaching search. You're going to hear something, especially from the college game. College coaches, by the way, position coaches, some of them make a lot more money in college than they do in the NFL, depending on the program.
Oh yeah, definitely,
right,
definitely.
So you got
now the report, by the way, just to, I mean, some guys we regard better, more credible. This came from Pete Thamel, who's pretty
great. Yeah, and listen, Bruce Feldman. Look, he wound up getting it wrong on Stoutland, but he was right. Stoutland was going to leave. People, Eagle coaches thought he was leaving, pretty certain of it, and then certain things happened, and he stayed. You just don't. Again, things are going to. These coaching searches are crazy sometimes. The funny things are, before we get out of here, it's always interesting when you hear that a coach is being recruited by like 3 teams. I'm like, how the hell do they get the guy in there? Is it more money? Is it responsibility? Things happen sometimes with these coaching searches that boggle my mind, but.
Well, I want to tell you something that might boggle your mind about Tracy Rocker.
I remember him as a college defensive player. Yeah, I remember that. Sure.
If he does become Eagles defensive line coach, it's going to be his 3rd job in the last, I think, 14 days.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. He just left. I know. I don't.
He was at South Carolina. He just got hired a week ago by Auburn, and now he may be coming to the Eagles. That's unbelievable.
What was the dude's name? The bald-headed guy, Corey. What was his name? The D-line coach. Was here years.
Are you talking about Rory Segrest?
Oh yeah, sorry, Rory Segrest. Wouldn't that be great? Don't you
know this comes back to Rory Segrest?
He was on Doug's list in 16.
Yeah. Yes.
Remember that?
I think he was on his way here.
Yeah, that's another one. It got reported that he was coming here. And I remember checking on it, and then they said something changed. Again, this is 5 years ago, so I don't know what the hell happened. But, man, that was not it didn't end well for him here. So, hey, we went to Samford, Samford. Nice guy.
Yes, I think it was Samford. Oh, yeah, great guy. Wonderful guy.
It just didn't work. It just didn't. The players, I just don't think it worked out well for him when he got let go here. But, hey, he's a long-time college coach. Good luck to him.
Well, if this guy does become Tracy Rocker, the defensive line coach.
Great name.
Then defensive line coach is about to become the defensive version of wide receivers coach for the Eagles, because they're going to have had about 5 or 6 of those in the last 5 years.
I wonder. Right? I wonder what his connection is. He connected to Gannon?
That's a great point. I have no idea.
Usually there's you rarely get hired without a connection to a coach on the staff. It doesn't always have to be the head coach. It could be the coordinator. It could be a recommendation. Like some of the coaches that got on Peterson's staff, he was not familiar with. Some of the position coaches recommended him. Like Mike Rowe was recommended by one of their assistants, and he turned out to be a great receivers coach. That was a good one. And Doug interviewed him, liked him, and hired him. And then Frank Reich liked him, loved him as a receivers coach. So he hired him in the Colts after he got fired here. So there you go.
There you go. All right, Adam, support for Inside the Birds is brought to you by Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. And big news, Manscaped has just released its new cologne scent to help you feel good and smell good all over at all times. Who knew smelling this good could feel this good too? I certainly didn't know that, so now I know it now. Everyone knows Manscaped has the perfect package 3.0 for all your below-the-waist grooming needs, but they didn't stop there. Complete your grooming game with a new refined cologne signature scent by Manscaped. With the same signature scent that's in all Manscaped formulas, this cologne is a perfect complement to the collection. Light, approachable, and gentlemanly in all the right ways. Think of it as your wingman for the night to keep you fresh and ready for anything. Calming and inviting, this signature scent introduces a light citrus burst before settling into the anchoring notes of vetiver and a woodsy masculine finish. This 50 milliliter spray cologne is even hypoallergenic, cruelty-free, dye-free, paraben-free, and 100% vegan. This beautifully designed glass bottle makes a statement, and the manly scent is attractive to set the mood. Also, be sure to check out the Perfect Package 3.0 with all the essentials for the below-the-waist grooming needs, including the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer and crop formulations. Yep, I'm talking about the ball deodorant and the toner to keep your testes your besties. And now you can use the new Manscaped Refined Cologne to complete your set and smell great anytime, anywhere. It is time to feel sexy. Get 20% off and free shipping. Use that promo code ITB at manscaped.com. Your balls and the rest of your body as well. Well, thank you. That's 20% off, free shipping. Use that promo code ITB at manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code ITB. Look good, smell good, feel good with Manscaped. All right. Before we get out of here, yes,
I just want to add, I love your note about Laurie knew who Gannon was. You know, it shows me, because most fans probably don't know who he is, would know who he is unless you follow the Colts or you did, you know, obviously if you went on the internet and you went to their website. Again, you and I cover the league. The only reason why I knew about him is because the coach told me about him. I wasn't that familiar with him. I knew he was with the Colts, but I knew nothing about him. So that at least shows me that coming in, and whether Roseman told him or someone on their Eagles personnel staff briefed him about Gannon before they even talked to Sirianni, I don't know. It's not a name that it comes, you know, unless you're a really big time NFL fan, you're probably not going to know about him. So that's good. I'm again, I know it's a minor point, but the thing about NFL owners, most don't know anything. They don't know anything about football. We've criticized Jeffrey Lurie for that press conference that he had recently, where everyone was up in arms over it. But overall, in terms of ownership, this guy's a top 10 owner for success and understanding what the league needs to look like. I don't agree with some of the methods about getting too involved. It's fair because it's true, but I do love that note you have. I know, as minor as it might be, it does tell me something though. That definitely does.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. I do agree with you that he's. Look, I agree. All right, here's where I will definitely agree with you. I can't stand when I see teams that go on a head coach, and we talked about this in the last pod, teams that have to find a head coaching search and they got to go hire a firm to go help them figure out who can do. Yeah. I mean, as an owner, you should be a little more invested to know who the best names are out there. So I agree with you. I think it's good that Jeffrey is
Hey, you want to laugh at this? I'm not at liberty to say who the GM was, but a GM that was hired a GM that got an interview. Okay. The owner was on a team's website and just was, because they were not finding the right guy. And he actually a guy got an interview because he was on this team's website and he thought this stuff was interesting.
Wow.
It's a true story.
Wow. That's amazing. That's sad and amazing at the same time. So yeah, no, I do. I appreciate that Jeffrey has a clue, because a lot of owners don't. I think that's a very good point.
That's why I brought it up.
And as you said, it's just when you get a little too
cares, man. Before we get out here, I just want to mention Jeff just talked about the search firm. No team should use the search firm. They don't need to.
It's mind-boggling.
It just drives me up a wall. You and I could put together a coaching staff easily we could probably put a list of 50 coaches that are absolutely ready to at least interview. Okay. I don't know if they're ready to be a head coach, but at least that they're well respected. I don't see how hard it is. I really don't. But maybe I'm
if you study something enough, you should know. And if you're an owner of an NFL team, you should study who the guys are around the league.
And the general manager, Roseman, as a GM has got to do that. So that's his job anyway. But it's just a minor point. I don't want to belabor it.
Hey, last thing, can we get on the John Dorsey thing?
So he's going. Where's he going? Detroit?
He's going to the Lions. And I say we've said this, right? People just had in this area, no matter how hard we tried to say it, no comprehension of John Dorsey's role with the Eagles, no matter how we tried to spell it out. I mean, the amount of and I'm not just talking about fans, people in the media or sports radio who thought that John Dorsey was going to trump Howie Roseman and Jeffrey was going to put him in the
or Andy Weidel.
Or Andy Weidel, yeah.
I didn't even address it because it was such nonsense. I'm like, I'm sick of trying to explain it to people because it's just they're looking for stuff. They're looking because I get the fans, Jeff, have been very frustrated with the drafts. I understand that,
and I don't expect them to be as informed as some people who should know better. Yeah, So by the way, Howie brought John Dorsey in.
It's not
like Howie was going to lose his job to the guy that he helped bring.
He's friends with John. Howie likes consultants. Look, I got a friend with another team told me, I was asking him about the role consultants because you know what? They're definitely helpful if they have either an expertise in a position, or if they've been a GM before. It's not the worst thing to do. But if you've got a good front office you believe in, you don't need to do it. But it's not a bad idea for someone who's done it before to bounce stuff off of. I don't think it was needed in this case in Philly because they have such talented guys. We're not even draft season now. We'll be in draft season soon. Oh, by the way, before we get out of it, excuse my language. Forgot to mention. I don't know why I threw that out. Sorry, folks.
Just
I know, but what I wanted to say is I totally forgot about this. So the Senior Bowl stuff, we're going to have we'll have some significant intel on just. It's not Eagles' interest because there's no such thing. There's some bad reporting out there. Oh, this team was interested in this guy. This area scouts have to interview these players. That's their job,
right?
But we're gonna have information on because people we know our listeners. I mean our viewers and listeners love the draft as we do, and we'll tell you who's doing well and not doing well at the Senior Bowl within the next week or so. Once our sources watch the tape from practice and. We'll have it for you. Don't worry about that.
It sucks that we can't go. You and I would have liked to have gone together.
First one in 19 years, man.
I know, especially with a new coaching staff, that always helps. But obviously, this year we're gonna have to put that on the shelf.
Well, by the way, each team can only send 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
They can only have four people in each player interview. See, at the Senior Bowl before the pandemic, there were no restrictions. You could do whatever the hell you wanted. You know this in the lobby of the player hotel, you'd see like the college director interviewing a player right in front of you. It was actually really cool.
Yep.
On the stairs, I remember Jay Cutler being interviewed like right next to me, and I wasn't trying to listen. It was just happening. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
but can't do that this year.
No, we'll not be able to. But that doesn't mean, as you mentioned, that we can't get the intel that we normally get. We will. You'll be fine. And we really look forward to it. I always look forward to draft season, and we're almost getting there.
Can't wait.
That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel, as we always do. We thank our producer, Hunter Brody. Check him out on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads, and check him out on Twitter at Broads81. I do want to thank everybody who's been tuning into us on YouTube lately. The numbers have just been great. We want to say thank you. Please continue to subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. It really helps us out. And as we always say, you can listen to our 97.3, ESPN radio station in South Jersey. We do a 4:00 interview every day, Monday through Friday, either myself or Adam or Andrew Jacheco. So you can, we post those interviews as soon as we get them every single day on our YouTube channel. So look forward to doing that again this week, and make sure you're checking that out. And as well as InsideTheBirds.com, we've been putting up fresh content as well as that too. All right, everybody, as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.